Welcome to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Raj. I'm joined by my fantastic co hosts, Fab and
Yep.
Nacc. Week one is officially in the books as the San Francisco 49ers took down the New York Jets 32-19. Aaron Rodgers' highly anticipated return from his Achilles injury, and the 49ers were powered by an amazing performance by Jordan Mason in place of Christian McCaffrey. We'll dive into that game breakdown shortly. We're going to touch on some quick injury news and notes, and then we'll jump into our matchups we love and hate for week two in our third segment. Before we get started, as always, guys, please like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a thing. We had our winners and losers for week one and Fab strategy in our previous episode, which we'll be doing weekly. All right, guys, before we kick off what our thoughts were on the Monday Nighter, I just want to reiterate again, us three, we called it. We called it Brees Hall, number one running back. We told you guys, do not take Christian McCaffrey, number one. I want to keep reiterating it. I want to shout out to my buddy Nick from Partial Breakaway messaging us. He said, thank God I listened to your pod because he skipped on Christian McCaffrey. So just want to say it. That's the type of insight. That's the type of takes you're going to get from us.
Yeah, look, man, we saw it coming, and you hear injury and you get scared, right? And the people who didn't draft Mason now are forced to spend maybe 50% of their budget on Mason in order to get him on the roster, or if someone else drafted him, pay a premium. You're obviously going to pay a premium to try to trade him back to your team. So,
dude, man.
It's
you might have to pay. You might have to put 80%. Like if you drafted McCaffrey, you just to sleep well at night. You might not have a choice. You might have to put.
We spoke about this yesterday on the pod. There's an argument to put 80% of your fab on
it's wild,
on
man.
Jordan Mason, and if I'm in a league and I see someone put 80% of the fab on Jordan Mason, I'll be like, wow, that guy has balls. But at the same time, or girl, because now everyone's involved in fantasy football. But at the same time, it's like you have no choice. And even if I don't have CMC, I can still put 50% or 60% on Jordan Mason because you know what? He's already expected not to play in week 2. Like it's not confirmed yet, but that's pretty much where it's going. You don't know if this thing is going to linger. You don't know how long it's going to be. The injury, him not playing Monday night was a shock to everybody, even though apparently San Francisco knew since Friday. Right, like Jordan Mesa had some conversation. Apparently, he knew ever since Friday that he wasn't going to play. They kept it very hush hush, like they're supposed to. So you don't know how serious this is, and they want CMC fresh for the time that it counts. Right, like for real football, they don't care about week 1, week 2, week 4, 5, whatever. They want him fresh for when it counts because they know that they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy next year. There's going to be a lot of cap casualties that are going to be gone next year that are on the roster right now. So I think for them, they're probably going to play the long game. And listen, Jordan Mason's a stud. Like 28 carries, 147 yards, 1 touchdown. He had another touchdown that was called back that ended up being vultured by Deebo. But like he looks like he can definitely fill in for CMC without any issues. So I don't see them forcing him to come back anytime soon. Not anytime soon, but I don't see them pushing him to come back sooner than later.
That's a great segue before we get into the Monday Night Football recap. Great segue into something I saw on Twitter today. George Kittle, he was quoted, I think it was after the game or maybe today in the locker room. He was saying the only quote unquote good thing about CMC not playing, he was saying how the playbook shrinks a little bit. He's always a fan of shrinking the playbook now. We really just ran the most simple outside zone all day. And the most noteworthy thing he said, a very good substitute for Christian, so we don't have to play Christian for 100 snaps a game.
Yeah.
That's what we've been saying. That's what we've been saying. They used him way too much last year, and we said it again. If they're going to use him that much like they did last year, he's going to get injured because he had soft tissue injuries at the end of the season last year.
Let me ask you guys, do you have any leagues where he went undrafted?
Mason? I think
maybe he went undrafted, but now he's rostered. He was rostered before kickoff last night.
So rostered. So you have no leagues right now where he's on waivers. Yeah, because I was like, I was upset to see that I'm in 3 leagues and he's not available in any of them. I really wanted to see how much he was going to go for if
that's the available move. When I drafted CMC last year in the Bush League, I picked up Elijah Mitchell and I rostered Mitchell the entire year.
Yeah.
it sucked, but you don't have a choice because even at that point, you still were like, CMC still kind of in that injury prone back. Obviously, it was very beneficial, but you got to have him.
I'm very happy that when we drafted in our league, I wasn't faced with the problem of potentially having to choose between Breece Hall and CMC. And CMC was taken right before me, and I was like, yeah, Breece Hall, no brainer, done. That's it,
Knowing you would have taken CMC because you zag on all of your takes.
I would have taken CMC because I would have probably regretted my life. I was like, it's like he's there.
No. I really had CMC at 1.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, I just want to get your overall thoughts. Let's start with you, Nacc, on the Monday Nighter.
Oh, honestly, I was one of the people who thought that San Fran was going to have some hiccups, start slow, especially with all the noise in training camp. Trent Williams didn't have camp. Aiyuk didn't have camp. Well, I mean, you saw Aiyuk have a little bit of rust. He dropped that ball. He wasn't the Aiyuk we've known to see on the football field. That's going to come. It's all about reps, right? But the thing that really shocked me is 8 straight scoring drives that San Francisco had. I think that was a record. 8 straight scoring drives against a New York Jets defense that was top 3, if not the best in the league, or supposed to be this year. I think they missed their buddy Hassan Reddick, who didn't play in that game and continues to hold out. I found out how much money he's holding out for, and it's
it's ridiculous.
It's like he's already $5 million into fines, and his game checks are about $800K.
Yeah.
So he's losing money every week. But no, honestly, hats off to the 49ers. They channeled all the noise. They took care of business, and they looked really, really, really good. And I think we've mentioned it more than once, but this is Super Bowl or bust year for San Fran.
Fab, any thoughts on how Aaron Rodgers looked, or even both QBs, Rodgers and Purdy?
You saw that there were some hiccups. You saw that there was some rust, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy that he threw for a very nice touchdown on that free play. He was picking his guys pretty well.
They're still slaying,
beautiful, man.
He still needs to work out, I think, a little bit of some timing issues with Garrett Wilson. But Garrett Wilson having 11 targets last night makes you very happy if you're a Garrett Wilson owner. He's going to be targeted early and often from Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. I think it's only going to get much better from here on out. It was probably the hardest scenario for Aaron Rodgers coming back from like over a year off and going up against San Francisco defense. And he got hit and he fell and he got sacked and all that stuff and he came back. So I think that's all very promising. I think if you have him as your QB2 for the rest of the season, I think you're pretty happy with that because he'll be able to give you up some weekly QB1 numbers. Obviously, last night wasn't the case. But no, it's definitely promising. And you saw the way he also played. You saw Breece Hall, super involved within the offense. Him too, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 39 yards. It's despite the loss, like I think there's a lot of positivity that you can take back from the Jets offense as a whole.
Yeah, I thought Rodgers looked pretty sharp. Again, the free play, some of the passes to Lazard, his old reliable, of course. The line played really well too, which is very promising. You know, we were talking about that last week. As maybe you want to fade Aaron Rodgers. Thought the line played pretty well against a dominant front, a dominant defense on that front, and like I looked at the numbers. Like what really killed the Jets is the time of possession. The Niners had 70 plays for 38 minutes. The Jets only 49 plays for 21 minutes. So that Niners run game is so nice to watch.
They just gashed him.
The way they pull the guards, the way they do their counters, it's a thing of beauty. So I thought it was a complete game. I thought Purdy didn't look amazing, we're all Purdy fans. I thought he missed a few. I thought he misfired a little bit. He didn't look super sharp. But
I'm going to chalk that up. I'm going to chalk that up to 4th preseason game, like we mentioned yesterday.
Yeah, he actually did play in the preseason. He did play a half in the preseason, but I think to your point, it's there's going to be rust for everyone, right?
Look, they put up 32 points, and we're saying Purdy didn't play well. I think they're going to be fine.
No, 100%. And then lastly, Jake Moody, absolute weapon, 6 for 6. Kicker is just an absolutely amazing
insane.
First week.
Insane. Just for you, Raj.
They
just
heard you,
for me.
man. They heard you,
Well,
and you got to put some respect on their names because they heard you.
yeah, absolutely. I put so much respect on their names that all the fab pickups that I'm making, it's all kickers that I'm dropping. Guys, 5 leagues. It's gonna be rough, but I'm dropping a kicker every single week. It's my strategy. I'm sticking to it.
Did you have any
Lastly,
one of those kickers that like put up more than 20 points?
I had McLaughlin in one. I had Dicker. I had Hopkins, and then after that, there was one league I didn't have to pick up a kicker because I dominated. So yeah. Last thing, Trent Williams, absolute dog. Didn't miss a beat. Like, just I watched the game and relooked at the highlights. It was absolutely amazing. So I'll put a bookend on really fun week 1. Again, a lot of rust, but not time to overreact yet. As we see, it's looking more and more like that 4th preseason game is becoming week 1 of the NFL season. We're going to move on to injury updates and news and notes. No shocker. Well, you know what? Somewhat of a shocker. Justin Fields to start week 2. Maybe it's a shocker because Wilson is still injured, or maybe it's because I personally thought Fields played really well. Again, Nacc, we talked about this one on the previous show. I think you're happy about it. I think most Yinzers are happy about it. Any other thoughts on Fields starting?
No, I don't think, and I think Tomlin handled the question well too. Like, he did say that Wilson is injured, and obviously the first question out of the reporter's mouth is who starts when Russ is healthy. So he kind of brushed that aside, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there, type deal. Now
When
I
you
feel,
brush, it means you're not starting. Like, it's
yeah,
like when you brush, it
and
means he's not starting.
personally, I still think Russ is the starter when healthy. Now, that being said, if he comes in week 2 and dominates again, he's going to have a tough question on his hands. And then there's also that little tidbit in the trade, right? It was a 6th round pick, but if Fields plays 50% of the snaps, it becomes a 4th round pick. So I'm sure that's in the back of their minds too, in the sense of, we'll have to give up a 4th rounder instead of a 6th. But again, if I think Rex Ryan he was on the show today, and he mentioned the same thing. If Fields ends up being good, you've got a superstar for a 4th round pick,
Yeah.
right? And it becomes like what a trade they made in sense. Like, I still don't see it as superstar. Like, I've got to see some more games, but look, like, to your point, it was promising the first game. We'll see how it goes.
I think he'll. Fab, I'll let you go, but I think I feel his career arc is like a Tyrod Taylor at this point, which is perfectly fine, right?
For Justin Fields?
Very solid career. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think the 4th round pick is inconsequential. If they're winning, they're winning. Like, I think that's going to be where they're going to stay. Honestly, I'm starting to think more and more that Russell Wilson is not as injured, maybe, and he's just like, and maybe they just want Justin Fields to start. Maybe they didn't like what they saw at camp, like, and this is just completely hearsay. I'm starting to ask myself, like, is Russell Wilson done?
Believe.
Like, is he officially done now? Like, being paid $50 million by another team
Well, if he doesn't get on the field, he's not playing ever again. That's for sure.
I'm just laughing because I don't know how we didn't mention it.
Like, somebody else is paying.
There was all the
so
memes
much money for him to play
memes of
against
him
like,
with his equipment on, with his
and he had the black eye,
and he wasn't even supposed to play. Like,
oh, because he was the third.
He was dressed, but he's the third
emergency
QB. Like, he's not expected to play whatsoever, and he's all like ready to go. It's like,
yeah, but you have to dress.
Oh,
But
you
yeah,
have to just okay. So he
you
wasn't warming up with the cameras just looking at him and like clapping.
That is because everyone has
like,
a story. Fields, Russ, all the time.
Oh man. Miami Dolphins backfield, Devon Achan, non-participant at practice on Monday. What did he have, guys? I forgot. Sorry.
Neither today, for that matter.
Yes, today, because today.
And this is very noteworthy, right? Because they're playing on Thursday.
They are, and Raheem Mostert chest injury. He didn't practice either, so that is exactly very noteworthy because we have a game in a few days. Jeff Wilson Jr. looked like he was the better inside runner, and as we mentioned, Jalen Wright was he was inactive in the first game. Lamar Jackson got a rest day. Apparently, it's because he was battered and bruised from the Chiefs game. He took a lot of hits. He ran a lot of off-schedule runs. So, I mean, obviously, I think nothing to worry about there. Probably just a Veterans Day on week 1, which is not the best sign, but
I was going to say already with
Yeah.
we're going to start talking NBA now with their rest days.
Speaking of rest and relaxation,
Oh man,
and all that
wow,
stuff.
What a
segue.
I'm usually not good with
Roger
the
for the
segues.
win over here.
That was
Usually,
bang on.
usually
That
Fab
was
is
you nailed it.
really good with the
My
segues.
You nailed it.
Deshaun Watson, there was more news. Apparently, he's getting sued. There's an allegation stemming from an incident that happened in 2020. We will spare you the details. You all have Google. But there's some conspiracies that maybe the Browns leaked this. Wouldn't be surprised, but when it rains, it pours for this guy. I think his father died a few days ago. One of his best friends, who he considered his brother, died a few days ago. Obviously, the horrible performance in week 1. So, really, when it rains, it pours, man. This guy is
constant
in
black
tough
cloud
situation.
now running around him.
And imagine they're probably so like they're looking at Baker Mayfield playing in Tampa Bay right now, and they're like,
Totally.
he could have been playing like that for us.
Yeah.
Like he's.
Well, the Panthers are probably doing the same thing.
That's
as
true.
well.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So that's it for the injury updates and news and notes. Feel free to obviously look at our Instagram and social media pages. We're always going to update any fantasy analysis on injury updates. So please stay tuned into our social media pages. Now we're going to move on to our love-hate segment. So Fabio, who, in terms of from a matchup perspective, do you love this week in week 2?
I gotta show a little bit of love to my boy wide receiver Malik Neighbors. He's probably the only rookie, maybe apart from Brian Thomas Jr., that actually played expectedly well, because we know that Marvin Harrison Jr. put a bit of a dud, and Roma Dunze also didn't have that great of a game. But Neighbors are going up against Washington this week. Well, the Giants are going up against Washington this week. They gave up 56 fantasy points to Tampa Bay wide receivers last week. Washington corners graded pretty badly on coverage as well, despite the horrible box score that Neighbors had. Well, despite the horrible box score that the Giants had against Minnesota, Neighbors had a decent showing in his first game, 5 receptions, 56 yards on 7 targets. I think they're going to try and get him involved a little bit sooner this time around. And I think they're going to have a bit of a bounce back week from last week. He's in a plus matchup. I think he'll be able to dog those Washington cornerbacks. And listen, assuming the quarterback play holds up to a degree, I think he'll be able to put up a pretty decent showing against Washington. It's definitely a plus matchup for me.
Yeah, do you have him stacked? Like, is it like WR3 sitting flex play?
Oh, he's WR2. Yeah, he's a high end WR2. Yeah.
High end WR2.
Nacc, you have to start him.
He's a must start.
He's a guy you have to start.
But as your second wide receiver?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my next guy too is in this new spot.
That's a good point. I mean,
so that's a top 20. Like he has a top 20 play.
Yeah, he's a top 20 play this week.
That's a good point, because a lot of other leagues only start two wide receivers. But considering
I'm just saying, still top 20 numbers for Neighbors. Did you guys watch Daniel Jones play last week, or was it just me?
Did you watch Neighbors play last week?
I gouged my eyes, man.
He played well. He has a very good matchup, and you would think that they would be able to bounce
6
back.
for 50 or something that he had. 6 for 56.
6 for 66.
Yeah, 5 for 56.
5 for 66.
5 for 66.
5 for 56.
Yeah, like decent.
The Washington got
gashed.
Like they got
for sure. But it was obviously Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield played like out of his mind.
Baker Mayfield is really good, but for Baker Mayfield to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, like, let's just be honest now, it's also a product of a defense he's playing against that doesn't really exist. And I think that's going to be the expectation too. Like, and I like Baker. I think Baker played really well, and I like him a lot. But also, Washington is just not a very good football team when it comes to defensive coverage. And the line for the Giants held up fairly well.
Yeah, it's also a division game, though. I feel like that you get a little bit more. I feel like you get a little bit more. You play him a little bit stronger or tougher, should I say? But man, top 20 play, I'm struggling with that one.
Fab, who's your second matchup that you love this week?
Chris Godwin. So Chris Godwin, they've been saying throughout camp and everything like that, he's going to be playing much more in the slot. Go back to sort of his roots. because I think last year he had a bit of a down year and he was playing a lot more on the outside. He played much more in the slot last week against Washington, and you saw it come out. He put up had a great game. He had 8 for 8 with like 85 yards and a touchdown. So versus Detroit this week, we sort of saw what slot receivers do versus Detroit. I mean, I know he's not no Cooper Cup, but I think it's still a very plus matchup for him. He also had a 28% target share. He was PFF's highest rated wide receiver last week. So Chris Godwin is definitely on the resurgence. I like him a lot. And so I think he might have refound himself again. And so
he looks fast. He looks way faster.
He looks really good.
He's a few years after that injury.
He looks really, really good. And he's also like another wide receiver too for me this week. I'm expecting another nice game from him as well. He's definitely a plus play for me too.
I drafted him begrudgingly in a league, and it's one of those like
I'm starting him this week. I put him in my flex last week. It was between him and Aaron Jones, and I saw Aaron Jones had a great game. I'm like, shit. Okay, I hope I didn't make a mistake over here. And Chris Godwin went off, and he outscored Aaron Jones. And I was like, you know what? And then I was looking at the game more, and I was looking at how he was playing and the routes and all that stuff. I'm like, he looked good, and he's going to be the guy in the slot. And I think it's going to be perfect for him, especially from a PPR standpoint. Yeah, he's money.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing the impact of them drafting Jalen McMillan for sure. Nacc, moving on to you, which player matchup do you love for week 2?
One of the guys I love for week 2 is Jerome Ford. So running back for the Browns. The Jaguars gave up 6 most points last week to running backs. They played the Dolphins. Ford was also one of 7 running backs last week that had that played 75% of their team snaps. So he is in fact one of the bell cows in the league. Browns are also looking to bounce back after they were embarrassed at home against Dallas. So I think this is a get right game. I would start Ford with confidence. Definitely as an RB2 with RB1 upside. He had 18 points last week, so
yep,
and that was in a nasty loss. So
yeah, no complaints there. I think you might see the Dolphins start feeling the impact of losing Christian Wilkins up the middle. So, who's your second matchup that you love this week?
Yeah, so another guy who actually this guy had a not so great start. I think he had 11 points in fantasy last week. Excuse me. So for a QB, that's quite low. But I'm going with Justin Herbert versus the Panthers. It's a dumpster fire in Carolina. The Panthers made Derek Carr look like John Elway on Sunday. Honestly, it was crazy. They gave up the 6th most points for QBs last week. So I know the Chargers are a run first team, but if there's a game where Herbert goes off and breaks that 20 to 25 point threshold, it's definitely this week against the Panthers.
Nacc, is there one of the wide receivers that you like the most in that matchup? Because J.C. Horn, Joe Horn's son, cornerback with the Panthers, was roasted a few times. So I'm wondering, is it more the speedster in Palmer or Quentin Johnson, or maybe the underneath guy in McConkey?
I think McConkey has a really good game. I think he's going to have a really good PPR game too. I think he sees a lot of catches, but definitely Palmer, I feel, is good for a couple of long shots too, because obviously watching that tape, they're definitely going to want to exploit that as well. So that's where, Herbert might have one of those long 60-yard, touchdown passes to help boost those numbers up.
If you can start everyone on the Chargers.
Yeah, for sure. That offense is, I mean, I think we're going to say it. It's going to be a recurring segment here of going against the Panthers and loving the teams that go against them. But like I said, Herbert, I wasn't high on him this year just because of the running and the Harbaugh effect. But again, when you have a game like this, starting with confidence, you should get that 20 plus point this week.
Yeah, that's a great segue for my matchup that I love, J.K. Dobbins. We talked about him a lot in the previous show, but against the Panthers, Saints ran 37 times for 180 yards last week. And obviously, we know how much Jim Harbaugh loves running the ball. So I'm ready to put him in a lot of starting lineups.
He's your league winner.
League winner, as I said, league winner, absolutely. So I mean, this is an easy one. I don't see how you don't start. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't see how you don't start him unless you have amazing options instead. I don't see how you don't start him in this matchup.
Yeah.
Are you starting him?
Yeah, I'm starting
Starting
him
in your running back spot or your flex?
flex.
Hey, if you have the,
Am I?
if you
Actually, am
if
I?
you-
I have a pretty good. Let me see.
Here he goes.
I'm starting James. So that's the thing. James Cook's playing on Thursday. It's so hard not to start guys on Thursday.
Yeah, because it makes the game more fun, right?
It makes the game more fun. And I gotta start Josh Jacobs. I gotta start Joe. This is in Bush League, of course.
It's the only league that matters.
So the thing is, I owned him. Smart enough to draft him at my last spot instead of drafting some lowly kicker. So I don't feel compelled to have to start him this week. So we'll see. But James Cook might be another good matchup. But alas, J.K. Dobbins against the Panthers. That's an easy one. Maybe a more underrated one. Colby Parkinson, tight end versus the Cardinals. If you need a tight end streamer with Jake Ferguson and David Njoku out, Parkinson had 4 catches for 47 yards on 5 targets. He actually led all tight ends this week in routes run with 42, and he played 87% of the snaps. With Puka Nacua out, it could be an interesting play. Again, if you're missing a tight end with some of the tight end injuries that are happening, and he could be had. I mean, by the time you guys listen to this, the fab portion would have been done. But this is a guy you could have for free, basically, like $1 or $2.
Well, I have Njoku injury in my 12-man league, and I definitely put in. I think I put in a couple bucks for him for a replacement.
It's a great call out.
Fab, bring us back to the top. Which matchup do you hate this week for a specific player? 2 specific players.
Devontae Adams, wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. I mean, Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry.
Honestly,
I felt forced.
They should move to
Saw a bunch of Bruce Arians moves on the camera right there. So,
let them move back after I go. I want to go see the black hole.
I think hard times for Devontae will unfortunately continue. Baltimore did give up the 7 most points to wide receivers last week, but Minshew is not Pat Mahomes, so I think they will struggle against that defense. I'm expecting a bit of a similar stat line to last week. Maybe he gets into the end zone, but I'm not really excited about it. You drafted Devontae Adams to be like a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. I think he puts up those wide receiver 3 numbers this week. I think it's going to be difficult for them to get the ball to him. It's not a matchup I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that's an easy. The thing with Devontae is like still so skilled, still looks so good when he's running routes, but then when that ball is coming to him, again, we talked about it a lot during the offseason. I think they really fumbled the situation by not prioritizing a better QB. With regards to the
I think the Falcons were the ones that really screwed up the situation for them by drafting Penix right before unexpectedly like that. So I could have definitely seen.
And I think Michael Penix would have been cool there, man.
Yeah.
He would have been so cool there. Like, I feel like they would have been like the savior of the franchise. Like, everyone would have been like, wow, they finally got it right, Like, who knows? Penix not necessarily going to be good, but man, I feel like he's better than what they've got now. It's just
I feel like the coaching staff would have ruined him though. Like, I don't know. I really liked Antonio Pierce last year, but just some of the stuff, the other things, he's too much of an old school defensive type coach. I don't know. And even the offensive coordinator, I believe it's Luke Getsy. That was the coordinator that Justin Fields had in Chicago. It was a very conservative offense. Like, you got some studs there. Devontae Adams, as we all know, is still a top 8 wide receiver at most. Jacoby Myers is a very solid WR2. Bowers, Meyer. So, we'll have to see what the
offensive weapons are definitely there. I think it's really just going to come down to the fact like how they're going to game plan to get the guys the ball. They need to get the guys the ball, right? But I don't know if it's going to be the case for Devontae Adams this week. The other guy I have is is Aaron Jones. I just spoke about a little bit before and how he went off against the Giants, but this week they're playing the San Francisco 49ers. Brees Hall had a very nice game, but it's Brees Hall. San Francisco pretty much did keep him under control for the majority of the game. I think Brees only had about 3.4 yards per carry. San Francisco is obviously a different beast, and I think the Vikings and Aaron Jones are ultimately going to struggle against Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and going to make life very hard for them. So I'm not expecting a running back 2 form of numbers that you would normally get from Aaron Jones, even though I think he put up a running back 1 numbers this week. He's going to come back now. Everything might be a flex play, but not more than that. If you're desperate, it's on a matchup that I like.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, I think, solid for his game.
Good.
He looked good. He's healthy. That's the key thing with him is, can
he looked good, and it's very promising.
He may get a lot of catches, though.
What's that?
They'll be playing from behind. They'll most likely be playing from behind. He might get the PPR. And PPR leagues is where he might save you because you'll probably get some dump offs or some screens.
But the thing is that, so Sam Darnold didn't see any pressure last week. Like barely any pressure at all. And he was like practically perfect. I think he had 1 interception, but apart from that, like he was practically perfect the entire game. He's going to see a lot more pressure, so I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to navigate in that pocket and even find Aaron Jones out in the flat. I think it's going to be a very, very hard game for the Vikings, and even for a survivor pick, if you're desperate after last week, I think this would be a great spot too.
Yeah, I forgot they had Ty Chandler. He's always been a pretty solid pass catching back. So that might be one of the reasons why Aaron Jones didn't get as many receptions. Okay, thanks, Fab. Nacc, who's in your hate situation for week 2?
Yeah, so hate situation week 2. Honestly, it's an obvious one, but it's all the Packers wide receivers versus the Colts. It looked like a juicy matchup to begin the season when you saw week 2 on the calendar, and they probably would have fallen into my love category for the week. But Malik Willis as the starter brings them all down a peg, if not even 2. He looks awful, and he's looked awful throughout his career. He's only been with the Packers for 2 weeks, also, so he's still learning the offense. New coach, new coordinator. So no bueno for the Packers skill positions in my eyes. Like Reed,
even Josh Jacobs.
Wide receivers. I'm saying.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Wide receivers like Jacobs figures to get a heavy workload in Love's absence. But I mean, if you really need to start one, like start Reed. But I'd exercise caution. Like he looked really good last week, so it sucks for Reed owners who drafted him, appropriately to be a WR2 or 3, with upside. Honestly, not much more than a flex play, and even at that, like I said, just exercise a lot of caution starting any Green Bay wide receiver for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
I think Reed, I would agree with you, is someone you still want to start. He's the only wide receiver that's least dependent on quarterback play because of his rushing ability. Nacc, what do you think of the tight ends, Kraft or Musgrave? Typically, kind of a quote-unquote worst QB tends to rely on the tight end more, and they do have 2 good tight ends that.
He's just Malik Willis is not accurate though. That's the issue, right? Like it's like he's gonna have to throw, obviously, right? Like you're a quarterback, you're gonna have to throw. I'm sure they're gonna be very conservative with him as well. And the playbook again is going to be very small, right? It's going to be very limited because he's been there for a short period of time. So I just really don't like it. I don't like taking the chance on it. Could they be security blankets? Sure, but 3-4 yard passes, like those tight ends are not made to juke out players and make exciting plays, right? So I don't know. For me, I'm staying away. Starting any Packers wide receiver.
Yeah, it's a situation to completely
Jacobs
avoid.
Full force.
To completely avoid. There's no other way to put it.
Who's next on your do not play list?
Yeah, so I made a bold one week 1 when I put Marvin Harrison Jr. on the list, and it's going to be a bold one for week 2. I don't like Jamar Chase this week against the Chiefs. Chiefs gave up the 8th fewest points. 2 wide receivers in week 1. Burrow did not look good. They played a team at home that was pegged to be like the 32nd ranked team in the league going into the season, in the New England Patriots, and they lost. I know there was a couple of mishaps. They fumbled close to the goal line, stuff like that. But a trip to Arrowhead on Sunday is not not the get right place you want. And it's going to be, I think Chase is also a bit of he's annoyed too, right? So he's not your Chase of what he is usually. He's looking for that contract. His mind is elsewhere. What did he have? 6 for 60 something yards last week. It wasn't like a
But
huge stat line.
like in what situation are people not like? Is it just a matchup you don't like, or are you saying like bench Jamar Chase?
No, this is not a starter sit segment.
Okay,
It's
no,
11
no,
days.
but
Like, I just
You
don't
don't like the
like
matchup. That's
Chase,
it.
especially like if he was drafted as a first round pick, right? So your first round pick, you're looking at 20 points. You want 20 points realistically every week, 15, 18 points realistically. And I just don't see him. Don't expect top 10 fantasy numbers from Chase this week at Arrowhead. That's what I don't like. I just don't like the play this week. He's obviously a must start. You're not going to take him out of your lineups. And I said the same thing last week about Marvin
yeah, for
Harrison
sure.
Jr. You're starting Marvin Harrison Jr. You drafted him in the first or second round. And what happened to Marvin Harrison Jr.? 1 catch, 4 yards. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I just want to make that clarification for the
yeah, for
listeners as
sure.
well.
No.
Yeah.
You're obviously not sitting Chase unless you have, Justin Jefferson, like some people do. But you're not gonna sit Chase. I really don't like the matchup, and Cincinnati just does not look great after week one, and to go and have to go into Arrowhead week two. I don't like the
Yeah, and
matchup.
McDuffie is one of the better corners in the league, so it's I don't disagree with that aspect. It's not the best vibes with the Bengals, and I was reading reports that Burrow was like he just keeps stretching his wrist on the sideline,
I
like
told you that at the beginning of the
some
year, man. It's
yeah
the injury that's
something's.
going to linger, and
I'm worried about Joe Burrow. Like he's one of my favorite QBs to watch, and like I'm really starting to get worried about him. The injuries are starting to take its toll. So we'll see on that front. For me, this one will hit close to home. Nacc. George Pickens against the Broncos is a matchup that I hate. Pickens is facing Pat Surtain. He held DK Metcalf to 3 catches and 29 yards and covered him on 24 of 25 routes. In my case, if you have better options, I would realistically say feel free to sit depending on the options that you have. You
100%.
obviously, again, you can't do that with Jamar
Yeah.
Chase. This is more of a, hey, just be mindful of it. But Pat Surtain is literally the top 2 cornerback in the league, and he's shadowed many wide receivers in the past. And he's one of those corners, as we mentioned in a few previous episodes before. He will shadow the best wide receiver for the entire game, and he will lock them down. So George Pickens for me is one matchup I would strongly avoid. And then I struggle between like 2 guys, so I'll just say them both really quickly. Travis Etienne and Terry McLaurin. I'll go really quickly. I'm going to go quickly because that's how fast Jaden Daniels gets rid of the ball. He hikes the ball and gets rid of it right away. I think McLaurin had 2 catches for 17 yards last week, and the way I see Daniels playing, he bailed out of clean pockets the entire time. He did not look comfortable in the pocket. Fantasy stats look good. He's going to look good from a fantasy stat perspective, but McLaurin, I think, is not going to be the benefactor. And then Travis Etienne, I think it's going to be hard to trust him on a year-to-year basis, on a week-to-week basis, excuse me. And he's facing a Browns defense that's very strong against the run. The Dallas Cowboys had 25 carries for 100 yards, and most of that came from CeeDee Lamb when he was doing some jet sweeps. So
yeah.
I think Etienne, and plus Etienne's he's in a realistic timeshare, I think, with Tank Bigsby, as we said in the
It's a
previous show.
realistic
So
threat.
Is this his third year or fourth?
Etienne, I think he came on. Did he come on with
His fourth,
Trevor
I
Lawrence because they
believe.
played together at Clemson? So
Right. So this has got to be his fourth year. So it's his
fourth year.
final year. This is his contract year.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how that goes. That is our loves and hates for the week. That's kind of it. That's everything we had, guys. I think that's it. Did we want to preview Thursday Night Football? Any quick predictions on Thursday Night Football? before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, it figures to be a good game. I think it's going to be high scoring. The Dolphins seem to kind of crumble when playing the Bills as of late. The Bills have had their number, but I'm honestly curious to see what happens in that Miami backfield because, as we mentioned, Devon A-Chain, whatever you want to call him, he's injured and suspected to have a high ankle sprain. So I'm just wondering. I want to see if Jalen Wright gets in, see what he looks like as well. So kind of excited to see that and see if Coleman could kind of keep growing with Josh Allen too. He led the team in targets in week 1, so good to see.
The Bills typically have the Dolphins number, no? Yeah.
I think the last like 13-1 the last 14 games or something. It's like something crazy. There's a stat that's really crazy. Or if it's just in Buffalo, maybe. This one's in Miami, but
Yeah, it should be fun. Love those divisional matchups early on in the season, especially on Thursday Night Football. That'll do it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, look forward to hopefully 2 shows a week. We're going to recap the Sunday action, provide fab insights, and then afterwards recap the Monday nighter, provide injury updates, and then help you out with your matchups as much as we can. So on behalf of Fab and Nacc, I'm Raj. Please continue to follow us, like, and subscribe on all social media outlets. And we'll see you again next time. Goodbye.
Peace. Peace out, everyone.
goodbye.
Subscribe.
Yeah, just hitting a button, man. Just click
Come on,
button.
just do it. Just download. Don't even listen. It's fine. Just download. It's fine.
Just download until please listen.
Seriously, actually, just download.
Yeah, but listening is nice too. But we want the views. Okay, bye.
Peace out.